I'm Jess. I'm here at the SoundWaters Harbor Center in Stanford Harbor, getting ready to go on an adventure on our research vessel. We use our research vessel to study Long Island Sound and Stanford Harbor. One of the biggest issues we see affecting the Sound is human impact. Human impact is all about the ways that people are changing the ecosystem and the environment around them. Long Island Sound is a really big watershed. Do you know what a watershed is? It might sound like a shed full of water, but it's not. It has to do with the land. A watershed is the area of land where all the water that falls on that land ends up in one place. So in our case, it's Long Island Sound. And there are 8 million people that live in our watershed, so that's a lot of impact that we can have on the health of Long Island Sound. Let's step aboard the RV and see what we can find. The first human impact we're going to talk about is marine debris. Have you ever heard of marine debris? Do you know what it is? My friends Tim and Christina know all about it. Let's go learn with them.
Hi, I'm Christina.
Hi, I'm Tim.
And here we are at SoundWaters Coastal Education Center in Cove Island Park, Stanford, Connecticut. And today we're going to be talking all about marine debris. Let's first talk about pollution. Tim, what exactly is pollution?
Pollution is going to be any man-made source of chemicals or actual physical garbage that's going to be harmful to the environment.
We're going to focus on marine pollution today. And what exactly is marine pollution?
Marine pollution is going to be any of those things that actually get into the water. So once it's in the water, we're going to consider it marine pollution.
And part of marine pollution is marine debris, is that correct?
That is correct. So when we talk about marine debris, we're not really talking about the chemicals. We're going to talk about the actual garbage that we find in there. So physical pieces of things.
How exactly, Tim, do these marine debris items get into the water?
There are several ways that marine debris can get into the water. Wind, rain, people's activities at the beach like barbecues, fishing, and people actually sometimes directly put items into the water. We also have storm drains that empty out into the Long Island Sound that can contribute all kinds of marine debris.
What have you seen when you've been to the beach? What type of marine debris items? Some common types are
Bottle caps, plastic bags, plastic bottles, food wrappers, styrofoam, fishing line, and it goes on and on.
To find these common marine debris items, we are going to go on a beach cleanup. We're going to use 2 trash bags, one for recycling, one for garbage, a pair of gloves, and the NOAA Marine Debris Trash Tracker app. This app is really good for beach cleanups because it tracks your location as you're cleaning up the garbage. It also helps you count what you find, all the way from plastic bags to beverage bottles, and it's used worldwide. We found a lot of interesting items here at our beach cleanup. We have entered it in our NOAA Trash Tracker app.
We're going to head to Stanford Harbor and see what kind of marine debris we find there. We're here at the SoundWaters Trash Skimmer in Stanford Harbor, and we're going to take a look at some common examples of marine debris.
Some items we found in the trash skimmer were this garbage bag, this plastic water bottle, oh, and look, Tim, a plastic bottle cap. Stanford Public School students in 6th grade are collecting these to raise awareness all about marine debris in the Long Island Sound. Their goal is to reach 1 million. If I were to throw this bottle cap, Tim, into the Long Island Sound, what would happen to it?
This bottle cap is never really going to go away. This plastic's going to break down a little bit into smaller and smaller pieces, and those pieces get eaten by other organisms. So smaller animals may eat this, and then larger animals eat those smaller animals, and it goes up the food chain. Those animals may stop eating because their stomachs are now full of plastic, or we may end up eating those same animals. This same piece of plastic can also float around to other spaces, and it may even sink at certain points. Sunlight can also help to break it down a little bit.
So not only is the bottle cap being eaten by animals, and the sun can also break it down into little tiny pieces. If I were to throw that bottle cap, would it always be in the same spot?
Because we have currents, the bottle cap's going to move around. It can end up somewhere we have no idea where.
Tim, is it just animals eating marine debris that's the issue?
So animals don't just eat marine debris, they can also become trapped and tangled in it. In addition to that, marine debris can land on our beaches here, and that's going to completely stop people from going to the beach, which can have very negative impacts on the local towns that are on the water here. It can also hit boats and cause damage to reefs.
Fortunately, the Long Island Sound water has improved a lot. According to Save the Sound, in 2008, our water was a D-, but today it's a B-. Imagine what an A would look like. There are a lot of efforts out there to clean out marine debris. Let's keep up the good work.
I never knew what marine debris was. That trash tracker app that Christina showed us is so cool. I'm definitely going to use it the next time I'm doing a beach cleanup or when I'm cleaning up my neighborhood. Whenever I do a beach cleanup, I find so much plastic on the ground. I wonder what happens to it after it's been there for a while. Do you think it stays the same size forever? My friend Nicole and I did some research we want to share with you. We're going to start off with a pretty obvious question. What is a microplastic? So microplastics are tiny pieces of plastic that are smaller than 5 millimeters in length. So 5 millimeters is kind of a weird thing to think about. If you think about the size of an ant, it's about 5 millimeters. So super duper small. Scientists and researchers that are studying microplastics usually use a microscope to check them out.
Where do these microplastics come from?
Great question. There are a lot of places microplastics can come from. One of the biggest ones is different debris that we find on the beach, so like plastic water bottles and stuff like that. They'll start to break down either from the waves or from the sun. It's like if you have one of those big plastic playhouses in your backyard, what happens to the color after it's been out there for a little while? Usually it starts to fade. It's because of the sun's rays starting to break down the plastic. The same thing happens to the smaller debris that we have out in Long Island Sound and out in the water. It starts to break down from the sun's rays.
Sometimes these microplastics are directly input into the water. Microfibers are a great example of this. Microfibers come off of our clothing. Some clothing is synthetic or man-made, and so when it goes in your washer, pieces of the fabric flake off. These are called microfibers, and they go right down in your drain, and they head over to a water treatment plant. And the water treatment plants currently are not able to filter out these microplastics from the water, and so they end up in places like the Long Island Sound. Another type of microplastic that ends up right in the water are our microbeads. Microbeads are generally found in cosmetics. Congress passed a law in 2015 saying that cosmetic companies were not allowed to put any microplastics into their materials anymore. A lot of times what they used were for exfoliants and makeup and toothpaste even. So as you were brushing your teeth with microplastics. And again, this goes down the drain to the water treatment facility and right out into our bodies of water.
We just talked about all those little microbeads that can go directly into the water from our houses. So we're going to do a little experiment to check out some of them a little bit closer up. We have 3 different products out here. We have a face wash that does use microbeads. We have a toothpaste that does also use microbeads. And we have another face wash that actually uses natural ingredients like walnut shells and corn kernel meal that it uses as its exfoliant. We're going to dissolve them in some water, shake them up, and see what they look like.
Here are our results. As you can see, the materials in these products were super small. We have our 2 products that had the blue microplastics. These products were the toothpaste and the face wash that has microplastics in it, and they are not available on shelves anymore. Our natural product, though, has A, a natural color, and B, is better for the environment because it's not polluting our waterways.
All these microplastics are not very good for the ecosystem. Can you think of any reasons why? One reason is because if there is any pollution or any chemicals in the water, these microplastics can absorb them and become even more toxic. Another reason is they can actually get eaten by animals. Some animals can't tell the difference between a microplastic or a plankton or whatever type of food they're trying to find, so they accidentally eat them, as you can see in these pictures. The little pink boxes are the microplastics, and these other little black things are called copepods. They're a type of plankton. This small fish is surrounded by both plankton and microplastics. He doesn't know it, but he's accidentally eating the microplastics. As he continues to eat the microplastics, they start to fill up his stomach. As his stomach gets more and more full, there's no room for the food that he needs to eat. He can't fit any of those copepods inside of his body. Is he getting any energy from the microplastics that he consumed? Nope, he's not getting any. So even though his stomach feels like it's full, he doesn't have the nutrients and all of the stuff that he needs in order to continue growing. If this goes on for too long, it doesn't look too great for our fish friend. Today we talked all about microplastics, those tiny little pieces of plastic that are going into the waterways. We learned about where they come from and the effect they can have on the animals in the ecosystem. But you can help.
The next time you're walking around your neighborhood or even outside and you see a piece of garbage on the ground, pick it up, put it in a trash bag, put it in a bucket, get some gloves on, do yourself a little cleanup. It'll help you, the environment, and the Long Island Sound. And remember, what goes in the ground goes in the Sound.
I knew they wouldn't stay the same size forever. Now I know where all those tiny pieces of plastic come from. Isn't it crazy they can absorb chemicals out of the water? How do chemicals even get into the water anyways? My friends Tim and Christina looked into it, and they have something to share.
Christina, how does this water bottle get into Long Island Sound?
Great question, Tim. So this water bottle can get into Long Island Sound through many different ways. The one we're going to talk about is runoff. Runoff is the excess of water draining off of land into a major body of water. It's when the land can't absorb any more water, so the only place it could go is into other bodies of water like lakes, streams, or the Long Island Sound. All of the runoff around here ends up in the Long Island Sound because this is the lowest elevation point. Does water ever travel uphill? No, it only goes down. So in this case, it all goes down into the Long Island Sound.
Why is it harmful for our environment?
There are many different reasons. One being the animals that live here. It can cause chemicals to get into their bodies, and then we end up possibly eating those animals. It could also cause damage to habitats. Runoff can occur in two different ways, natural processes or man-made. Natural processes can be rivers, lakes. Man-made are more like storm drains. We're going to look at three different kinds today. The river, the natural process, a water treatment center plant, man-made, and lawns with runoff such as fertilizer, also man-made. Here we are at the mouth of the Mill River. The Mill River flows right into Stanford Harbor, which flows into the Long Island Sound. The Mill River, even though it's a natural process, can still pick up harmful chemicals along its route to the Long Island Sound. This river flows right through downtown Stanford. What type of pollutants and chemicals do you think a river that flows through a major city downtown can grab? Here we are at Stanford's water treatment plant. A water treatment plant is where the water we use, such as in our sinks and our toilets, goes to be cleaned so we could reuse it again. A lot of these treatment plants are found along the coastline of the Long Island Sound. They have really large containers that help clean the water. What would happen if a big rainstorm came in and overfilled these tanks? Runoff. This runoff would bring all that stuff into the Long Island Sound. If you've ever been on the Long Island Sound or driven along the coastline of Connecticut, you're going to notice one thing. There are a lot of homes. According to NOAA, 2.2 million people live on the coastline of Connecticut. When there's a lot of people, there could be a lot of pollution. The one chemical we're going to focus on is fertilizer. Fertilizer helps make these grasses behind me look so vibrant and green. Why would that be bad for the Long Island Sound? Well, first let's think about what fertilizer does. It helps plants grow. If too much gets into Long Island Sound, it will cause algae to grow, and that can take up a lot of oxygen. If there's not enough oxygen in the water, then our animals can't breathe. So too much fertilizer in the water causes a lot of animals to not be able to survive. We've learned about 3 different locations that contribute to runoff. Why is runoff still such an issue, Tim?
Chemicals found in runoff can end up in the water and find their way into some of the smallest animals and the lowest animals on our food chain, like plankton and shellfish. Those animals get eaten by larger animals, which can eventually end up on our dinner plates. What can we do to stop or reduce runoff pollution?
There's plenty of things we could do ourselves. We could stop using fertilizer and pesticides on our lawns. We can even create our own gardens in our backyard, or if you live in an apartment, a rooftop garden. The trees and plants in that garden, the roots will suck up that extra water. Fortunately, the Long Island Sound has been the cleanest it's been in the past 3 decades.
Wow, I always knew that the water comes down into Long Island Sound, but I never realized how much stuff it could pick up on its way. I'm here in Stanford Harbor at the SoundWaters Marina Trash Skimmer. And this trash skimmer made a little sneak peek in the marine debris video with Tim and Christina. What it is it's like a pool filter. It filters water through it and it collects all the debris that's in the water. Like this I have here. There's some trash, a cigarette butt, some sticks. Collects all of the debris, all of the pollution that's in the water. It can even take out oil and other type of little pollutants that are floating around as well. And what it does is it collects it all in there. So we can come down here and we can empty it out. And by emptying it out, we can tally all of the different pollution that we find. So we can keep track of what we're finding, when we're finding it, and try to figure out where it's coming from. It'll help us tell other people about the pollution that's commonly found in Stanford Harbor, and hopefully we can figure out how to make a difference and get rid of it. What do you think are some of the most common pieces of trash, different pieces of debris that we find in our marina trash skimmer? We get a ton of styrofoam, so many cigarette butts, and a lot of plastic bottle caps. SoundWaters actually started this really cool initiative called the Million Bottle Cap Project. Let's head back to the RV with Christina to hear about it.
I'm so excited to tell you all about the Million Bottle Cap Challenge. We started this challenge with 6th grade students from Stanford Middle School, but soon schools from other towns, local corporations, and people in the community got involved too. By collecting 1 million bottle caps, students are helping to save 2 tons of plastic from entering the Long Island Sound. That's the size of a small car. You can help too. By collecting and counting your bottle caps, we could add them to our tallies. Every bottle cap helps. Visit millionbottlecaps.org to learn more. Hey Jess, what's another way SoundWaters is helping to impact the Long Island Sound?
Thanks for asking, Christina. For the past 3 years, SoundWaters has partnered with a local organization called Save the Sound to do something called the Unified Water Study. There are a bunch of organizations all over the Long Island Sound collecting data in the coves and embayments along the shore, just like Stanford Harbor. They use one of these. This is called the data sonde, and what it does is it can tell us about different parameters in the water. So it can tell us the temperature, the salinity, how much oxygen there is, all of that. And it can tell us how healthy the water is. Save the Sound takes all of the information that the organizations collect and comes up with a report card every year, kind of like the one you get in school. And it gives a grade to each section of the Long Island Sound. So what I have here is the grades from 2008. Long Island Sound starts all the way out here by the Atlantic Ocean. And this eastern end is really, really healthy. It has an A+. There's a lot of water moving around there, a lot of exchange with the ocean, so it stays really clean. Now Stanford is all the way down here, the western end of Long Island Sound. We got a D+ in 2008. Not a lot of exchange happening with the ocean, and everything gets kind of trapped down here. Now if you flash forward 10 years to 2018, eastern Long Island Sound is still really, really healthy, still has that A+. And if you look down here in western Long Island Sound where we are, we went up to a B-. That's really great in 10 years. And it's all thanks to changes that people are making in the community to improve the health of the Long Island Sound. You can make a whole career out of caring for the environment. There are scientists coming up with new technologies all the time. My friends Tim and Christina learned all about something called renewable energy. They even made a scavenger hunt all about it. Let's go play along with them.
On Earth, there are inexhaustible forms of natural energy. Renewable energy is made from resources we find in nature that do not pollute the air or the water. Today we're going to go on a scavenger hunt to find these renewable resources. Before we do that, let's talk about renewable versus non-renewable energy.
Non-renewable sources of energy are energy forms that can be only used once, like gas and coal. These are usually burned to power things like our houses and our forms of transportation. They also contribute pollution to the air and the water. But there's a better way. Time for your first clue, Christina. Here's your first clue.
All right. So, clue 1. I can move in all directions. I make flags stand out, and I can power sailboats. What am I? I think the wind. But where can you see the wind? I know.
Wind energy in places like the Long Island Sound are a great resource. If you've ever been to the beach, you've probably felt it's usually windy. While it's not always windy, there's a good chance you're going to feel some throughout the day. Scientists are working on ways to store as much wind energy as possible. We gather wind through a turbine. This is a wind turbine. We've seen these on many places along the shore, and they continue to grab a lot of power. In Connecticut, we may have up to 1/3 of our power soon coming from wind alone.
Now that I found the wind, let's get clue 2.
All right, Christina, your second clue. When I'm shining bright, you will need these to protect your eyes.
Okay, so the sun has really harmful rays that can hurt your eyes. I know what you use to protect them from the sun. Solar means sun, and it's a powerful source of energy. In fact, The sunlight that shines down on the earth in just 1 hour can meet the world's demand of energy for a whole year. We use solar energy for 2 reasons: to heat our homes and electricity. If you've ever seen these shiny panels on the roof of a home, these are called solar panels. Solar panels work just like the leaves of a plant. Those plant leaves collect the sunlight, create it, and convert it into energy that they then use. The solar panels take the sunlight, convert that into energy, and we use it. Now that we found Mike, who had his sunglasses on, protecting himself from that big sunlight, let's get our third clue.
Clue number 3. I can be very powerful, especially when I am flowing fast. These rocks try to stop me, but it won't last.
Ooh, I know what this one is. Dams like this have been used by humans for hundreds of years to power machinery. The movement of water would turn gears, and then they would use that to grind flour, but now we use it for electricity. How it works is the water would move a turbine, which then causes a generator to turn on. The electricity from that generator we use in our homes and our businesses. Now that I found the dam, which is hydropower, let's get our next clue.
All right, clue number 4. If you miss me, don't be sad. I'm here twice a day, but always leave my mark.
This one's a tough one, but I think I've got it.
There's a lot of potential for tides to be a great renewable energy resource. The great thing about tides is that they're consistent every single day. Tides are consistent because they're powered by the moon. We know the tide will always be either going in or going out, and there's tons of water on this planet to use. It works similarly to our dams and our wind turbines, where we have a propeller or a turbine that's spun by the movement of the tides. The currents that the tides create can actually generate electricity for us.
Now that I found the tide line, let's find clue 5.
For your 5th clue, if you dig down deep, you will find me waiting. SoundWaters uses me to help them feel nice and toasty.
Ooh, SoundWaters uses a renewable resource. I think I got it.
Believe it or not, the ground itself contains heat. Only 20 feet below the surface, the ground stays almost at a constant temperature throughout the year. We actually take the heat out from the ground in a pretty simple system. We have pipes that go underneath the ground and a liquid that runs through them. We use that to either heat or cool the liquid in it depending on the time of year, and we use that to heat or cool our buildings. The SoundWaters building is 100% heated by geothermal energy.
So why doesn't everyone use renewable energy sources? 2 reasons. The first one being you can't store the wind or the sun as easily as you could store those non-renewable sources like coal and gas. The second one being cost. It is much more cost effective to buy coal or gas or oil to heat homes or use for electricity than it does to install a solar panel or those geothermal grids. But the cost of renewable energy is going down, so a lot of people are now getting into that renewable energy resource. Today we found our 5 renewable energy sources: tidal, wind, hydropower, geothermal, and solar. Scavenger hunt complete.
There are so many great sources of alternative energy, whether it's harnessing the sun, the wind, water, waves, or even the earth. Scientists are coming up with new innovative ways to use environmentally friendly alternatives. Scientists aren't the only ones that can make a difference for the environment. There are a lot of things that you can do at home. Nicole and I did some research into them. Let's go check it out. Over the course of time, humans have had a lot of impacts on the environment. Some of them were good, and some of them not so much. There are a lot of people that have been working really hard to try to remediate these issues or try to make them better and improve the environment. One example of a not so good interaction we've had is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It's this huge floating mass of plastic in the Pacific Ocean. It's really, really big. Sometimes it's 2 times the size of Texas. The Ocean Cleanup Project has been working really hard to try and remove a ton of that plastic from the environment with special boom systems and things like that they have floating out in the ocean. So they're doing a really great job of trying to clean up one of the problems that we've caused.
The Ocean Cleanup Project is really great at cleaning up the large pieces of pollution in our water, like water bottles and cans and stuff like that. But what can clean up the small stuff? That's where kelp comes into play. We just got back from the kelp farm that SoundWaters is growing kelp at. And kelp is really important because it takes one of the pesky nutrients that comes off of the land, nitrogen, and it turns it into something useful again. It recycles that nutrient so that it can grow bigger. This is grown over 5 months, which is a really fast growth cycle. So they're really important because they take out that nitrogen so that it doesn't harm the animals and plants in the area.
It's also a good food source for people, and it helps gardens grow nice and big and tall.
Let's talk about what you and your community can do today to help out. The average American makes about 4.5 pounds of trash per day. If you're in a 4-family household, that's about 18 pounds. 18 pounds can fill up this bucket and even more. So it's a lot of trash per day. One way that we've found out is a great way to do that is to recycle. You most likely recycle at home, you most likely recycle at school. So it's really good because it gives life to things that would otherwise end up in landfills and they don't need to be there. We can make things like reusable bags, clothing, and even more water bottles. So it's an important thing to do. If you're curious how your town recycles so that you can recycle properly, you can go to www.iwanttoberecycled.org.
There's a few simple things you can do at home to help impact the environment in a positive way. One such way is by composting. So composting is when you take all the organic material in your house. So that's things like leftover food or pieces of sticks or grass from the backyard, and you put it all together and it starts to break down from little microorganisms inside. And it turns itself into soil. The soil is very, very helpful for all the plants in your garden. If you took all of that waste and you put it into your trash can, you tied it up and it went out into the landfill, none of the nutrients in that trash bag end up getting back into the soil. They're trapped inside. It's not very great for the environment in that way. So what you can do at home is you can either just start a pile in your backyard. You can purchase one of these simple compost bins. You put all your scraps in here, you get it a little bit wet, you give it a spin every once in a while so it can get some oxygen, and after a little bit it'll turn into that super nutritious soil you can add to your gardens.
Another way that you can help today is by stopping the use of single-use plastics. Now, these are exactly what they sound like. They're plastics that are used once and then thrown away. The Ocean Conservancy is an international organization that has actually collected data about beach cleanups and everything for years now. In 2018, some of the top 3 plastics that they collected on the beach were things like water bottles, plastic straws, and utensils. Now, these 3 things are made actually to be reusable now. You can get them online or get them anywhere that you need. There are straws made out of silicone and metal now, we have reusable water bottles, and we even have reusable utensils. So you can be green at home today. Even with all of these remediation techniques, the environment and the Long Island Sound still need your help. There are a lot of ways that you can make a large impact on the health of the environment. And some of these ways we went over. We went over recycling, we went over doing a local cleanup, and we even went over refusing single-use plastics.
So the next time you're out on a walk and you see a wrapper blow by your feet, or you're about to throw away your banana peel, take a second to think about how your actions can have an impact on the environment. And never forget, what goes on the ground goes in the sound. Thanks for joining me aboard the SoundWaters research vessel. I hope you enjoyed our adventure today. Whether it's runoff, marine debris, or microplastics, it takes everyone that lives near the Long Island Sound to help keep it clean and healthy. What are some things you can do in your community to help benefit the health of Long Island Sound? Maybe you can gather your friends and do a beach cleanup. Make sure that all the products you use at home or in your yard are environmentally friendly. Maybe you can even plant a garden to help absorb some runoff. Any little bit that you can do in your local community will help to benefit the health of the Long Island Sound.